You've been living a lie. The goal was never the end of the road. Hello, curious minds, and welcome to a new journey. Today we're doing something different. We're going to take an idea we all think we know and plunge it into a deep dive across 5 levels of understanding, each one more profound and eye-opening than the last. The topic is that famous saying we've all heard, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But what if that wasn't just a pretty phrase? What if, literally, the goal was just an excuse for the journey to exist? I decided to take this deep dive because this idea, properly understood, isn't just rainy day philosophy. It's a tool that can fundamentally change how we deal with frustration, motivation, and even happiness itself. So get ready, because I promise you this, by the end of this deep dive, you won't just see your goals in a whole new light. It's very likely you'll see your entire life through different eyes. Let's start at level 1, the surface of the known. Here we encounter the most famous and straightforward interpretation of our topic, the simple advice to enjoy the process. This, in essence, means finding satisfaction in daily actions, in the effort and learning, and not pinning all our hopes for happiness on the moment we cross the finish line. On this same surface also floats another very popular idea, the culture of achievement, that almost compulsive need to accumulate completed goals to tick things off a list. This approach directly affects us, making us live in a constant waiting mode. We postpone our peace of mind and joy until when I get the promotion, when I graduate, when I buy the house, always for a when that lies in the future. An example we've all surely experienced is planning a vacation. Often, the excitement, anticipation, and joy of researching places and dreaming about the trip is even more powerful than the actual travel experience itself, which can sometimes have its own stressful moments. And here we find a third basic truth we all know from personal experience. The happiness we feel when achieving a significant goal is surprisingly short-lived. It's a spark of euphoria that quickly fades. This feeling has a very deep evolutionary context. Think about it, our hunter-gatherer ancestors didn't have a final goal in their lives. Their existence was a continuous process of survival. Imagine a prehistoric hunter. Their objective wasn't simply the mammoth's meat. It was the entire process, learning to read tracks, collaborating with their tribe, crafting tools. The journey of the hunt was what guaranteed survival for tomorrow and the day after. Their brains were designed for constant effort, not for a golden retirement. So, enjoying the process, the culture of achievement, fleeting happiness, all of this is what we see at first glance. It's just the tip of the iceberg. But if this is what we see on the surface, what secret mechanisms are driving it from beneath? Welcome to level 2, the hidden mechanisms. And here's the first major revelation. It has to do with a substance in our brain called dopamine. For years, we were told it was the happiness molecule, but that's not entirely true. More recent research, especially in neuroscience, shows us that it's the motivation molecule. And here's the twist. Dopamine isn't released in large quantities when you achieve the reward. It's released in anticipation of the reward. Your brain rewards you for the effort, for the pursuit, for being on the path, not for arriving. Now, the positive application of this is a real game changer. If you know your brain rewards you for progress, you can hack it to stay motivated. How? By breaking down a giant goal into very small steps. Each completed step gives you a little dopamine hit that propels you towards the next one. For example, someone who wants to write a book. The goal of writing a book is distant and overwhelming. But the goal of writing 1 page today is achievable. By accomplishing it, their brain gives them a reward that motivates them to do it again tomorrow. They're building the path and enjoying it. But of course, there's also a risk. This very mechanism is what addictions exploit. Social media, slot machines, video games are all designed to keep you in a constant loop of anticipation, hooked on the pursuit of the next reward, which may never actually arrive. The perfect example is the infinite scroll on your phone. The act of swiping your finger is the journey. The anticipation of what you might find in the next post is what releases dopamine and keeps you hooked, even if the content itself isn't all that gratifying. Now, let's talk about a process governed by an invisible rule of our psychology. It's known as hedonic adaptation, but for clarity's sake, let's call it the pleasure treadmill. This invisible rule states that no matter how good or bad an experience is, your general happiness level tends to return to its baseline. It's like a thermostat. You get a big raise and feel euphoria, but after a few months, you get used to that new level and your happiness returns to what it was before. Think about the last time you bought a new phone. The first week was exciting, right? Every new feature was a discovery. 6 months later, it's just your phone. Your pleasure level had fully adapted. There's another key internal structure in how we perceive the journey. Our brain has what Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman calls an experiencing self and a remembering self. And this remembering self is subject to a cognitive bias, a judgment error, known as the peak end rule. This means that when we recall a past experience, we don't judge the average of the entire experience. We only remember and judge two things: the most intense moment, the peak, and the end. Think about it for a second. Our brain isn't a perfect video recorder. It's more like a lazy editor that only saves the most dramatic moments and the final scene. And with those, it constructs the movie of our memories. The strategy to actively counteract this is brilliant. If you want the memory of a long and difficult journey to be positive, you have to intentionally design positive peaks, small celebrations, important milestones, and ensure that the final phase of each stage is satisfying and memorable. So the next time you finish a project and feel it was just a long, tedious effort, ask yourself this question: did I stop to celebrate the small peaks of progress? How did I design the end of the experience? Let's consider how an ancient custom shaped this idea. Pilgrimages, like the Camino de Santiago. The goal, the cathedral, was the magnet that started the journey. But the true spiritual and personal transformation didn't happen upon arrival. It happened in the mud of the path, in conversations with strangers, in the ache of tired feet. The practical takeaway for us today is that for centuries, humanity has intuitively known that growth isn't a destination you arrive at, but a process you move through. Based on everything we've seen so far, we can draw a key, real-life deduction. We need to stop tying our identity to outcomes and start tying it to our processes. This can be presented as a general rule of thumb. Don't be the person who wants to have a fit body. Be the person who doesn't skip workouts. Don't be someone who wants to write a novel. Be a writer, and writers write. In real life, this means our focus should be on building good systems and habits, not just chasing goals. A good exercise system will lead you to have a fit body. A good writing system will lead you to finish that novel. The system is the journey. Understanding these mechanisms is like receiving an updated user manual for our own brain. Suddenly, we start to see the hidden levers that drive our motivation and satisfaction. But if you thought we had it all figured out, get ready, because here's where things get really messy. Welcome to Level 3, the chaos of reality. And the first major controversy is that this idea of loving the journey is often seen as a battle between two archetypes: dreamers and doers. On one hand, there are those who say that focusing only on the journey makes you complacent, mediocre, and without ambition. On the other hand, those who argue that focusing only on the goal is a recipe for chronic stress, anxiety, and a deep sense of emptiness upon arrival. What's fundamentally at stake here is a conflict between two very deep human values: fulfillment and achievement. What do we prefer? A life of present satisfaction, or a life with an impressive list of achievements to look back on? Now let's challenge a popular belief that almost all of us take for granted: the idea that having ambitious and clear goals is unequivocally a good thing. And with this, we debunk a widespread myth that psychologists call the arrival fallacy. It's the belief that once you reach a significant objective, you'll enter a permanent state of happiness. It's one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves. The psychological reason we love to believe this myth is because it offers us an illusion of control in an unpredictable world. It gives us a simple formula: if I make sacrifice X, I'll achieve happiness Y. It's a very seductive promise, and this leads us to an incredibly difficult paradox. You need a clear and exciting goal to take the first step and begin the journey. But to truly enjoy and survive that very journey, you have to learn not to obsess over that goal. This leaves us with a philosophical dilemma with no easy solution. How can you keep a destination on your compass without the anxiety of arriving preventing you from seeing the landscape of the journey you're on right now? Let's now adopt a more critical viewpoint. Could it be that this entire enjoy the journey philosophy is, in reality, a luxury? It's a much easier idea to embrace when your basic needs are met. And here's an important social objection. For someone working 3 jobs just to pay rent, the journey is an exhausting grind. The goal, which is day-to-day survival, is everything. Telling that person to enjoy the process can sound, at best, utterly detached from their reality. And there's another controversy: the role of society. Think about it. Our entire educational and economic system is built on goals, not journeys. Grades, degrees, promotions, quarterly sales targets. We're programmed from childhood for the final destination. If we analyze this over time, we see a drastic change. Just a few generations ago, most people's path was more or less defined by their family and place of birth. Today, we have almost infinite freedom to choose our path, which ironically creates enormous pressure to choose the right one. All this conflict connects with one of the deepest truths of the human condition: our awareness that we are finite, that our time is limited. And this creates a fundamental problem for us as a species: the anxiety of being on the wrong path, the fear of wasting our one life on a journey that wasn't worth it. This fear can paralyze us, or worse yet, make us run so fast towards a goal that we don't live at all. As you can see, we're no longer talking about a simple motivational phrase. We're in the midst of a complex personal and social dilemma at the very heart of modern life. You've survived the chaos. Now it's time to delve into the details that separate the curious from the true connoisseurs. Level 4, expert knowledge. Let's dust off a concept from the Stoic philosophers from over 2 millennia ago. They distinguished between skopos and telos. Skopos is the external objective, the target. Telos is the internal objective, the ultimate purpose. Imagine a Stoic archer. Her skopos is to hit the center of the bullseye. But her true telos, her deepest goal, is to shoot the arrow with perfect technique, with maximum concentration and virtue. Why? Because hitting the bullseye doesn't entirely depend on her. A gust of wind can deflect the arrow. But executing the perfect shot does depend on her. The journey, the action, is the true objective. Now let's talk about a key figure who, though known, is often overlooked in these discussions. Alan Watts, a British philosopher who was instrumental in bringing Eastern thought to the West in the 20th century. Watts was a secret hero in popularizing this idea, and he did so with a brilliant analogy. He said that life shouldn't be compared to a journey with a destination at the end. It should be compared to a piece of music. The purpose of a symphony isn't to reach the final note. If it were, the best orchestra conductors would simply play that last note and leave. Now, an alternative or rebel theory that can change the game for you, the concept of anti-goals popularized by the writer Oliver Burkeman. The perspective is radically different. Instead of defining what success you want to achieve, define what failures or situations you want to avoid at all costs. For example, an anti-goal could be never working in a toxic environment again or avoiding debt. This forces you to focus on the quality of your daily journey. Now, a counterintuitive detail that comes from scientific research. The studies by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi on what he called the flow state. It clashes with our intuition because his research showed that people's happiest life moments aren't those of passive relaxation. They are the moments when we are completely immersed in a challenging task, so focused that we lose track of time. Happiness isn't the absence of effort. It's total absorption in the effort. And now, let's connect several of the ideas we've explored. The dopamine system that rewards us for the pursuit, the Stoic archer who focuses on the quality of her action, and the flow state that makes us happier when we're immersed in the process. This is the aha moment. Everything points in the same direction. Our biology, ancient philosophy, and modern psychology are all describing from different angles the same fundamental phenomenon. We are designed to find meaning and reward in the journey, not in the destination. Reaching this level of detail gives us a much more authentic and powerful insight. It's no longer just an opinion or a nice wish. It's a fundamental characteristic of how we operate. From here, we enter uncharted territory. Do you dare to look towards the final frontier? Level 5, the final frontier. Speculation and wonder. Let's start with a futuristic idea. What will happen when artificial intelligence and automation render most of our traditional goals, like professional careers or wealth accumulation, irrelevant? 100 years from now, we might live in a society where the primary work isn't producing goods, but rather self-development, learning, and the exploration of consciousness. A society where the journey itself is the new economy, and people are valued not for their achievements, but for the depth and originality of the path they're traversing. And this is where science reaches its limit. Neuroscience can explain how our brain processes goals and time, but it can never tell us why we should value this precise moment, this step on the path, more than the future goal. And it's precisely there that philosophy takes over, because it asks us about meaning. Is the meaning of life something found at the end, like a hidden treasure, or is it something woven with every decision and every step we take? This has a dizzying philosophical implication for our idea of who we are. If the goal was just the journey, it means there isn't a final and complete version of yourself you need to arrive at. You're not a sculpture being carved. You're more like a river, always flowing, always changing. Let's connect this with the future of humanity. The greatest challenges we face, such as climate change or space exploration, aren't projects with a clear finish line. In game theory, they're called infinite games. The objective in an infinite game isn't to win, but to keep playing. To solve our major global problems, we need a massive mindset shift. To stop seeking short-term victories and start falling in love with the long-term process of being good stewards of our planet and our species. And here's the final idea, the most provocative statement of this journey. Perhaps the universe itself isn't a story rushing towards a final chapter. Perhaps the universe is in itself an infinite process, and our purpose isn't to decipher its goal, but to participate in its astonishing unfolding with the greatest possible awareness. This idea makes our small, finite existence feel like part of something immense, a cosmic dance that has no beginning or end. And with that thought, our descent through the 5 levels has concluded. Take a deep breath, and now look back and contemplate the complete panorama of the journey we've just traveled together. Remember how, at the beginning of the video, we started on the surface with that simple, familiar idea of enjoy the process. A pleasant phrase, almost a cliché, something you might find stamped on a coffee mug. And now look where we've ended up. Contemplating the possibility that our brain is biologically designed for anticipation, that ancient philosophy already taught us to value action over outcome, and that the purpose of the entire universe itself might be the journey. We've gone from a self-help tip to a profound reflection on the nature of reality and our place within it. That, my friends, is the incredible transformation that deep knowledge offers us. What idea from this entire journey has impacted you the most? What thought has stayed echoing in your head? From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for investing your time and especially your curiosity in this deep dive. I'd be fascinated to read your own reflections in the comments. A topic like this becomes richer and deeper with every new mind that contemplates it. If you're passionate about these deep dives into big questions, subscribe so we can meet again on the next adventure. And if you think this video could change someone you know's perspective, don't hesitate to share it. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and never ever stop wondering. Because in the end, perhaps the answer was never the destination.